Hey guys! Today we're going to be discussing the Katelin Akens case. I originally uploaded this with no audio, but I just felt it didn't do Katelin and her family any justice, so I've now re-uploaded it. I'm using an old mic because my new mic is broken, so I can only apologise if there's any interference. Katelin was 19 years old when she went missing. She went missing from Virginia on December the 5th, 2015. Throughout this case you will hear that Katelin went missing from Virginia over a particular location in Virginia, and that's because there is so much uncertainty about where Katelin was when she went missing. Katelin is 5'4" tall. She is 122 pounds. Katelin has blue eyes, although they sometimes appear green in photos, and she has blonde hair. Katelin is known to mix up her hairstyle. She likes to cut it short, grow it long again. She likes dyeing her hair. She is very quirky in her appearance. Katelin has 2 nose piercings and a lip piercing and a belly button piercing. Katelin has a couple of tattoos, which I will show a photo of at the end of the video. When Katelin went missing, she was wearing a dark fleece pullover sweatshirt, black pants, and pink and black Van shoes. As with all my previous videos, I have to say that all these opinions are my own. All information that I'm talking about is out in the public domain, and everybody that we discuss is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. I absolutely believe this case has not gotten nearly enough coverage. This girl and her family deserve a better investigation and answers. Please keep Katelin's name and story circulating. Please, if you've watched this video, go and find some more different groups about Katelin. There's some on Facebook, and there's other videos out there, TV shows and podcasts, just so you can learn more about this case. The timeline I'm going to describe can be particularly confusing at first, but the whole story needs to be told to make sense of all the events that are related to this case and everything that's unfolded since. Katelin was visiting her mum Lisa, sister Gabby and new nephew in Virginia when she went missing. Katelin had grown up in Virginia, living with her mum Lisa and her sister Gabby, and the trio were extremely close. Lisa, her mum, married James when Katelin was 7 years old. Katelin and her sister saw James as a father figure and were extremely fond of him. Katelin and her sister's biological dad hadn't seen them since they were extremely young, so they saw James as a father figure to their life. Lisa went on to divorce James, but they all stayed extremely close. James would pop round for Christmas, they'd spend birthdays together, holidaying at times, and they still were very amicable, and James was still very close to the children. Katelin is described by her friends and family as being extremely clever, very unique, quirky, happy, loving, and a beautiful friend, a beautiful daughter, and a beautiful sister. Growing up, Katelin had a best friend called Amber. Amber lived very close to Katelin and they attended the same schools. When Katelin was around 11 or 12, Amber and her family moved to Arizona, but the girls kept in contact throughout the years, and they found that their friendship developed into a romantic relationship. Katelin was described as very clever by her friends and family, and she decided to actually speed up her education so that she could graduate early from high school, and she ended up graduating at the age of 16. At the age of 18, Katelin decided to move to Arizona with Amber and her family, and they actually ended up getting engaged. Katelin's mum Lisa and sister Gabby stayed in Virginia, but they would talk to Katelin multiple times a day. They still stayed extremely close to her. If she was out for a walk, pop into the shop, she would always place a phone call into her family to check how they are. When Katelin was 19 years old, she decided to enroll in cosmetology school. Before she could start, she needed to show her high school certificates, which were back at her mum's house in Virginia. Katelin decided to plan a visit back to her mum's house so she could collect her certificates and also spend time with her mum, her sister and her new nephew, who'd just been born. She was very excited to spend a few days with her new nephew. She decided to go from the 1st of December 2015 and come back to Arizona on the 5th of December 2015. Katelin's fiancé Amber reports when Katelin left for the trip, she was in good spirits and all was well. On the 1st of December 2015, Katelin flies from Arizona to Virginia and goes to her mum's house. She spends the first few days besotted with her new nephew and spending time with them all. On her last night in Virginia, which would have been the 4th of December 2015, Katelin decides to go round a friend's house. It's a boy and a girl which are now in a couple, but she grew up with them both and are close to them. They ended up having a few drinks and Katelin ended up staying over. Katelin returned back to her mum's house on the morning of the 5th of December 2015. Lisa and Gabby both say that Katelin was in good spirits, if not a little bit tired. Katelin's flight was due to take off at 17:40 that day. Lisa was working that day, so she needed someone else to take Katelin to the airport. She rang around a few family members to see if anyone could take her, as the airport was 50 miles from their home. She asked her sister's husband, but he was unfortunately unable to take her. Lisa rang her ex-husband James and asked if he could take Katelin to the airport. He said he would be happy to, but he'd need to drop her slightly earlier as he was starting work at 3 o'clock that afternoon. Katelin was happy with the plan and happy that she was able to see James beforehand so they could catch up. Lisa dropped Katelin over to James's house between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. that morning of the 5th of December 2015. At 1:52 that afternoon, James texted Lisa and said Katelin dropped off all okay. Lisa replied back to James and said, "Thank you, was the traffic bad?" James replied to Lisa and said, "No." And in my opinion, this is where the story starts to not add up. People's stories don't add up, accounts don't add up, and my heart just breaks for Lisa when I'm telling this story, because I just can't imagine how she felt and how the rest of the family felt. At 2 o'clock, Lisa receives a text message from Katelin's phone. It says, "All okay at airport, battery dying, we'll switch phone off for a bit." Lisa replies back and says, "Okay, let me know when you get on the plane." Lisa reports it's around this time she thought, that doesn't really sound like how Katelin texts, but she didn't really think anything of it. Around 2:05, Katelin sends her fiancé Amber a message through a text app, and it says something along the lines of "something's going on, awaiting new flight." Now I can't confirm exactly what the message says, as there's a couple of versions out there, but it is something along those lines. Whatever it was, it made Amber feel concerned, and she tried to reach out to Katelin with no success. As Katelin wasn't picking up Amber's phone calls, Amber felt so uneasy that she then contacted Lisa. Amber gets through to Lisa and says that Katelin is talking about getting a new flight, that something's going on, and Lisa is instantly panicked. Both Lisa and Amber are trying to call Katelin. There's no answer. At times it appears her phone's switched off, and then Gabby starts to try and contact Katelin. Again, there's no success in contacting her. Lisa decides to place a call to James, her ex-husband, as he was the last one to see Katelin, and he was the one that was dropped her at the airport originally. Luckily, James answers the phone to Lisa, but James informs Lisa that he actually never dropped Katelin to the airport. He dropped Katelin to Springfield Mall, which has a metro station, and is 2 stops on the metro to the airport. James reassures Lisa and says it was Katelin's idea. She had 4 hours to burn, so she was going to just look around the shops and then catch the metro up to the airport, as it was only 2 stops. And Lisa just feels panicked. Lisa didn't even know that Katelin knew there was a mall there. In fact, Lisa didn't know. Lisa says to James that Katelin's never taken the metro on her own, and James reassures her and says, well, she's a big girl, she'll be fine, I'm sure she got there okay. And he just tries to reassure Lisa. So Lisa gets off the phone with James and she tries to contact Katelin again. Amber's trying, Gabby's trying, and it would appear now that her phone is switched off. Lisa is at work at this point and she is just in panic. At 7:15, Lisa is on her way home from work and she hears her phone go off, so she pulls over to have a look at her phone. There are 2 text messages from Katelin on Lisa's phone sent at 7:15. The first one says, "Staying with a friend." The second one says, "Need time alone." Katelin has never texted in this style, according to her friends and family. Usually she texts long messages instead of consecutive ones, one after the other, and she uses a lot of emojis. Lisa instantly tries to call Katelin back, but her phone is switched off. And we now know that this will be the last messages sent from Katelin's phone. Just before Lisa received the text messages from Katelin, it was noted that Amber also got a message from Katelin saying that Katelin had cheated on Amber. Amber noted that this didn't sound like Katelin either. The message wasn't in the style that she would have sent it in. Lisa called the airline to check if Katelin had checked in for her flight, and they confirmed that she'd never had checked in. Throughout the night, into the morning of the 6th of December, friends and family were trying to reach out to Katelin with no success. Lisa called the police and they said there was nothing they could do because Katelin had sent a message saying she needed time alone, and because of her age there was really nothing that they could do. On the 7th of December, no one had still heard from Katelin, so Lisa decided to go down to the county sheriff's office and file a missing persons report. While she was there filling in the forms, a call came through to the police department to say that Katelin's hand luggage had been found in a drainage ditch on the side of a road. The hand luggage had been picked up by some men that were working on that road. The location of the hand luggage is the bit that most people can't get their head around. The hand luggage was found around 4 miles from Lisa's home, which would have been around 47 miles from the airport Katelin was meant to be at. So at this point, police can't work out if Katelin ever went to the airport, or did she go to the airport and she came back into where she originally was. So there's a lot of mystery around the location of where this hand luggage was found. So the location of the hand luggage wasn't the only mystery over this hand luggage itself. The police examined the outside of the hand luggage to the suitcase itself and the position it was in the ditch. So the suitcase had a broken wheel, and the position it was found in made it look like it had been thrown out of a moving car. So they had come to the conclusion that if it had been thrown out of a moving car, it would have to have been done by a passenger. Obviously, a driver wouldn't be able to throw a luggage case out and drive a car. So the police examined inside the hand luggage and they found inside were Katelin's wallet, bank cards, phone charger, toothbrush, makeup and plane ticket, all packed neatly. The 3 things that were missing were Katelin's phone, her clothes and her high school diploma that she'd come back to Virginia for, and to this day these have never been found. Police had decided to trace Katelin's last known steps that James had reported. They interviewed James, they interviewed friends, and they also requested phone records for Katelin and James, and they also requested security footage from the airport, the mall and the metro station, but obviously requesting records can take a few weeks, so for now it was a horrible waiting game for the family. At the time, another body of a young lady turned up murdered, similar age to Katelin, similar description, in the similar area of Katelin's hometown, and it was falsely put out in the media that this was related to Katelin's case, and it took some eyes off the real investigation. This was never related to Katelin's case. This young lady that ended up murdered, it was an isolated incident, and it's so sad that this had happened to her. It is not linked to Katelin's case though. So please go back and interview the two friends that Katelin spent the evening with and the night with on the 4th of December. They do confirm that Katelin was there, they'd had a few drinks, and they did actually end up having a threesome, so Katelin had cheated on Amber. They said that they all woke up regretful in the morning, but this was nothing that Katelin would have ran away from. This wouldn't have been the reason that Katelin would have left. Security footage from the mall, airport and metro station was back, and police examined it. They found no evidence and sightings of Katelin, James dropping Katelin off, or James's Jeep that he was driving at the time, so there was no actual footage of Katelin being in these places. Police received Katelin's phone records back, and it showed that the phone didn't ping from any of the towers near the airport, mall or metro station. Katelin's phone seemed to have pinged around her hometown, James's house, and around where their luggage was found. Police asked James to come in to do a polygraph test, which he agreed to come in on the 29th of December 2015. On the morning of the 29th of December, James placed a call into the police and said he had hired a lawyer and he would not be doing a polygraph test. James remained consistent about the story of dropping Katelin off at the mall, and to this day that story hasn't changed. To police he is always told one story. They received James's phone records back and it showed a very different story. It showed that James was at home the time that he texted Lisa to say that he dropped Katelin off okay. Police took James's computer, laptop and phone. They tried to have a look into it, tried to look at the history of it, anything he'd done on it, but James had all devices encrypted, so they could not break into these devices. The FBI tried, the police tried, all very unsuccessful. James also had passwords on all the devices and he refused to hand them over. To this day, the police and the FBI have never been able to get into these devices. James's phone record also showed that he had never tried to contact Katelin. So while everyone was trying to contact her on a panic on the 5th of December, he didn't place one call, one text, and to me that seems very strange, seeing as I would have been the person that dropped her off. But there was no contact made to her, nothing to say where are you okay. The police searched James's property and seized his vehicles and found absolutely nothing. They searched the 10 acres of garden that James had. James has another property which his mum lives in, and the police were unable to search this because it has a tenant in. James never offered to let the police search this property. James had to drop Katelin off early to the airport that day because he started work at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Police found out that he never actually went to work that afternoon, and he never returned to work for 6 months after that day. And when he did, he had a new job. Police had found that Katelin on the 5th of December had had a conversation with a friend where she had said, "I don't want to be here, but I don't want to be there," and nobody really knows what that meant. So January 2020 now, and where are we now with this case? So whenever I talk to friends and family about this case, everybody's first questions are, what is James doing now? And he's pretty much doing the same as what he was doing before Katelin went missing. He still has his devices encrypted. The police and FBI can't break into them. He is still refusing to give his passwords over. He still refuses to do a polygraph. He has only retrieved back a few of the vehicles and possessions that police seized. The police are still waiting for him to pick some of that up. He's still refusing to let the police search his mother's house. He initially was talking to the family and obviously to Lisa, but he has since cut them off. There was some criticism in the media that Amber had moved on too quickly to a new relationship, but we have to remember that Katelin and Amber were very young at the ages of 19. Police have said to remind everybody that Amber was never a suspect, and the family wish Amber well. So there have been no reported sightings of Katelin since she disappeared, and no other persons of interest. The only person of interest in this case, and has been since the disappearance, is James. Have to remind people that a person of interest doesn't mean somebody is guilty. Thank you for listening to Katelin's story. The family still have no answers, and they are desperate for answers. We need to keep sharing Katelin's story and her photos in hope that someone can bring something forward. I have added in to this slide some missing posters of Katelin, which you are welcome to screenshot and share on social media if you wish. I have added in the 2 Facebook groups for Katelin. You can join them and talk to people and share stories about Katelin or find out more about the case. We need to just keep talking about her in hope that something comes up and the family can get those answers they are desperate for. I've also added in the County Sheriff's Office number. If you have any information on Katelin, then please do not hesitate to contact them. And thank you guys for bearing with my old mic. I hope there wasn't too much interference in this video. If you enjoyed the content, then please like the video, subscribe and put the bell on. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves.